Darkness falls across the land. The midnight hour is close at hand. Creatures crawl in search of blood to terrorize your neighborhood. Now pray for the soul of this explorer. It's time for 31 Days of Horror. Hello again, Terence McGuana here, and welcome back to my 31 Days of Horror. Just over a month ago, I was contacted by a gentleman from Nairobi, Kenya, and we've become really good friends on Instagram. His name is Japeth, and he's an absolute gentleman. Tight. We're such good buddies now. And I'm so appreciative of him. And I was asking, before I started this event, I asked him, is there any horror films that you would like me to review for you? And he says, I don't know, but I love zombie films. So I said, well, have you seen Dawn of the Dead? And he's like, which one? Oh, the only one, the 1978 George Romero classic. And he's like, yeah, do that. Excellent. So here we are, Dawn of the Dead from 1978. A phenomenon of unidentified origin has caused the dead to rise up and feed on the flesh of the living. Four characters, Peter, Roger, Stephen and Fran, escape from the inner cities in a helicopter and fight for survival as they barricade themselves in a huge suburban shopping mall. I first saw Dawn of the Dead at a very young age. Someone had it on a pirate copy. I'm not sure if it was the cut version, the uncut version. There were so many versions of this going around, and it gave me nightmares. This film did give me nightmares. I used to dream about zombies all the time. I used to dream about being stuck in a shopping mall and the zombies are coming after me. They're all trying to eat my friends and my family and all that stuff. It was great. I love dreams like that. I love a good zombie dream. I'm weird that way, right? But yeah, Dawn of the Dead is one of my all-time favourite movies. It's absolutely perfect. I remember when the Zack Snyder remake came out, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. I thought it was a terrific action film, but it was so empty. There is really nothing to that film. It is just an action film, whereas Dawn of the Dead has a lot of subtext. I first saw Dawn of the Dead on videotape in the mid-80s, and it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I just absolutely captivated by this film and the sheer imagination that it had. I wasn't really so aware of the subtext that the movie presents as well, the whole sort of anti-consumerism message that it sends out. It is really brilliant, and the thing about it that I love the most is the four main characters. These four main characters, I think, are some of the probably the best ensemble cast in a horror film in my entire life, because the way that you actually empathise with each one of them. I mentioned this in an earlier video, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that these characters are, I really get behind each one of them, and I don't want anything to happen to them. Even though they're not perfect, they're not superheroes, they have their flaws, especially character Stephen, aka Flyboy, who is not an action hero. He's a television helicopter pilot for like the Weather Channel or something like that, right? He is not built for this. He's not built for survival, but he does learn, he does progress, he does have an arc in this story, and I really enjoy that. Sometimes the arc, it's kind of a negative arc that happens. Although he becomes more physically capable, he becomes seduced by that place, just like the zombies are. But when I watched it today, I noticed something really interesting, that when Roger is in the apartment building at the start and there's all that chaos where people are getting shot and the zombies are getting shot and all that, there's this part where he sort of looks away, sort of in despair, like he feels kind of like he's becoming a little bit more unhinged, which I feel kind of telegraphs what is going to happen later on when Peter and him are trying to block the shopping mall entrances with the trucks, and he's driving the truck and he's slowly losing his marbles, he's completely losing his mind, you know. It's like, are you okay? He's like, perfect baby, perfect. I mean, I love that line. I say that sometimes when people ask me, are you okay? And I'm like, perfect baby, perfect. I find myself using that line, but that moment is actually quite frightening. I think that is one of the most frightening moments in it, is when Roger starts to lose his mind. And that's what I love about George Romero. He's not just putting these up as stock characters. These people are not just zombie chowder. They're not just there to be killed off by zombies, which we find in a lot of films. I mean, the Zack Snyder version, I really couldn't get behind those characters. I didn't find them very engaging. I just wanted to see the action scenes Whereas in this one, I'm 100% behind these characters. I empathise with each one of them, and I don't want anything to happen to them. Obviously, I've seen it tons of times, and I know exactly what's round the corner for them. But still, it devastates me. It devastates me when some bad things happen to these characters, and I don't know how he pulled that off. George Romero, he really takes interest in the human drama in his films, in Day of the Dead as well, and he really wants you to see this as a human story, and that's what Dawn of the Dead is. It's not about the zombies, it's about the people. It's about how we try to survive together, and seeing it in this time, it has really brought a lot of things to home. It really kind of shows how prophetic this film was. You know, when they've got lines such as all the brains are dead but the idiots are all still alive, or something along that lines, things like that, and it just shows the sort of division where you have all the sort of country folk out shooting zombies for sport. Instead of trying to barricade themselves in, trying to survive, they're just, you know, lackadaisically just going out and having fun, getting drunk and shooting at zombies. They're not going to survive. These people are going to get killed. If you watch Night of the Living Dead and they're in that environment, they're out in the countryside just like in Night of the Living Dead, these people are not going to live. But yeah, there are certain elements to this film that does make me think about what we're going through right now, and I think that's one of the things that's going to help make Dawn of the Dead even more timeless. And we'll go, yeah, we should have listened to George Romero. He was giving us a lot of advice here. What makes these characters so interesting as well is they work like a family. They do work like a family. They are tight. They are, even though they have their disagreements, such as Peter and Flyboy, right, where that whole sequence at when they're at the when they stop off with the helicopter and Peter is pointing the rifle at him because he almost shot him. You know, they settle these differences, and it really kind of shows that what people should do to become good friends and to become tighter and to protect one another. There's good examples in the way these characters behave. It also has that emotional drama between Stephen, aka Flyboy, and his girlfriend Fran, who we discover earlier on is like 3 months pregnant. That their relationship is coming apart, that they're maybe not feeling attracted to each other anymore, that they're just not in tune with each other anymore. So he has that human drama element to it as well, and it's interesting that a lot of these things don't really get resolved, and that's kind of realistic in a sense that, you know, if you've fallen out with someone and you know something tragic happens, or you've left in bad terms, you would love for that to just be tied up and resolved, but it doesn't end that way. That's realistic. That's what life is like. You do have these moments in time where you regret the things that you've said, the things that you've done, and then you never see this person again. And there's real tragedy in this film, real drama. What is there to be said about the cast in this film? I think this is the best ensemble cast in any horror film. There's always usually a weak link in a lot of horror films, someone who is the plank that's holding everybody back, but not in Dawn of the Dead. This main ensemble cast, Peter, played by Ken Foree. Ken Foree, I've actually shook this guy's hand at the GFT many years ago. My brother got me some tickets to go and see Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead as a double bill. It was absolutely brilliant, and Ken Foree was there to do a wee Q&A, and I got to shake that man's hand. I never imagined that I would ever even be in the same room as that guy. I did see Gaylen Ross in Creepshow as Ted Danson's doomed wife, girlfriend in that. That's the only thing that I've ever seen her in. What an absolutely legendary director. I'm sorry, and it was funny that I've watched so many documentaries about the making of this film and some of his other films, and I've never heard anyone ever say a bad word about George A. Romero. He just seemed like one of the nicest people. We ever see him talking to his fans or in interviews, he always came across as a total, utter gentleman. And it's just, Dawn of the Dead, it's just an absolute masterpiece. I could honestly sit here, and I've done it in many occasions down the pub with friends, I could talk about Dawn of the Dead until the cows came home. Absolutely. It is just an absolutely perfect movie. And but I'm not going to, because I'm exhausted. What is this day something or other? This event has I've never been so exhausted in my entire life. I haven't had a drink in 5 weeks. I've quit drinking, and I plan to continue to stop drinking. I just find it was depressing me. I want to thank Japeth for asking me to do a zombie film, and Dawn of the Dead was at the forefront of my mind. There was no other zombie film that I could honestly sit here and talk about. But this is Terence McGuana, and just want to say peace, love, rock and roll. See you tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be a little bit more animated tomorrow. I'll have plenty of coffee, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.